Hello, Richard here, and welcome to my latest Facebook Marketplace acquisition, which is this rather, shall we say, interesting looking woodworking bench. Now, I've been after a woodworking bench for some time, and I've never been able to sort of find one that will fit the limited space I have available. But this one came up on Facebook Marketplace, and well, here it is. Now, I'm going to be doing a bit of a mini restoration on this, and for this one, I'd really appreciate your help with it. We'll talk about that a bit more in a moment, but I'll tell you a little bit more about how I actually came to acquire this. This particular bench was on Facebook Marketplace for quite a few months, probably about 3 or 4 months. And it was priced at around about £150, if I remember rightly. And as you'll be able to see, you know, it needs a bit of work, shall we say. So I kind of ignored it. It just looked a little bit too ropey. But anyway, last week the price came down to £95. And that got me interested, mainly because it's got 2 of these. It's got 2 record number 52 vices on it. And they're worth about £40 each second hand. So the price they're asking for the entire workbench was kind of what the vices are worth. And I thought, well, okay, it's worth a look. Plus, it's a nice small size, which would fit in the space I've got. I've got limited space. So here we are. I've got another mini restoration project on the go. And like I said, I'm going to ask you for your help in a short while with that. What I'll do, I'll just bring you in a bit closer and I'll show you what we're up against with this, because this is going to be quite a job, I must say. Right, so let's have a look. All right, I'm just going to hand hold the camera as we walk around this, so I apologise if it's a little bit shaky. So I'll just bring you in on the vices here, so you can see they look really quite rough. But the roughness really is just the fact they've got paint on them, and the jaws are just a little bit kind of second-hand. They can be replaced quite easily. Interesting though, looking at the jaws, they do look like, I don't know how well you can see that. If you can see the grain, it does kind of look to me like they're made of beech. Quite hard wood, and they're recessed in, so it's quite a neat feature, that. And you've got the other vice as well, same type, covered in overspray, as is most of the bench, which is pretty horrible. You can see the top is very second-hand indeed. I mean, that's it looks like a scale model of the Battle of the Somme on the top of that. That's really quite bad. Got a little dog there, quite handy if it moved. And you can see the tool well is a little bit scruffy, but not too bad. I did notice as well that this is a little bit loose, but we can look at that. Obligatory paint splatter all over it. So I think every tool in every sort of home workshop has to have some sort of white emulsion splattered on it. Otherwise, it's not a proper home woodworking tool. So here we can see the top. And if I bring you around the back, that's probably quite horrific as well. Hopefully you can see that. And one thing I did notice as well was here, we've got another vice mounting point on the back. And this sort of got me to thinking. I just thought, it's a woodworking bench, you know, and carry on walking around while we talk. I thought, it's just a woodworking bench, you know, it's quite compact, which is quite useful. But I thought it's unusual that you'd get a woodworking vice with 2 vices on the front like this. You know, normally you just have the a vice on the left if you're right-handed, and that's it. If you had a vice on the right-hand side, it would probably be an end vice, not a face vice. Given that we've got the 3 holes over here, if I show you that again, these 3 holes, I thought, this is probably an old school woodwork bench from an old school, in which case you'd have had this vice here, so you could have student working on this side, and then you'd have had one working opposite over there. And what probably happened, I'm guessing, doing a bit of detective work, is that this came out of a school to someone's home. They probably put it up against the wall, and the vice over here, that would have been here, got in the way, so they just moved it over to here. That's what I'm guessing. That would also explain the height. This thing's only 75 centimeters high, which I think is about 30 inches, and it's too low for me, really. It's not going to be high enough, but that's why it's a low bench, because it's designed for low people. I don't mean lowly, I mean just people that are vertically challenged, like children. So yeah, I think that's what we got here. An old school bench. Was probably probably a cupboard down here. But you can see there's some sort of slots here where there would have been some runners for the sliding doors, I guess. So what I'd really appreciate your help with is to give me ideas on how best to go about actually fixing this up. Now, I've got my own ideas about what I do with it and how I sort of get it where I want it to be. But I thought if I asked you guys how you'd go about fixing this, then I'd probably get some really great ideas, things I haven't even thought of. So what I'll do, I'll show you the things I want to fix on this, what my ideas are, and then hopefully you can let me know in the comments what you would do. And then in the next video, we'll see which suggestions I took up. So I'll bring you back in and show you what I'm thinking. Okay, the first thing to consider really is the top. Now the top is really quite beaten up. I'll bring you in as close as I dare with that. So I'll give you a little fly past to the surface. Imagine we're sort of flying over the surface of, looks like one of the moons of Jupiter or something. So there's all these craters and lava flows and, well, I think it's yellow paint, not lava. But anyway, all jokes aside, yeah, it is pretty horrendous. Again, suggests that it was probably used in a school where it was shown very little respect at all, really. So that needs to be improved. I need to flatten that surface somewhat. So what I'm thinking on the top is perhaps get some 1-inch thick redwood, something like that, probably a softwood, and maybe just flatten what I've got here with a full plane or some form of plane, flatten it down, maybe take, I don't know, 1/4 inch off it, perhaps, and then basically glue some slabs of redwood over the top. So that's what I'm thinking there. That's probably what I'll do. I could just flatten it with a plane and see how that ends up, but I think I'd be happier if it had some fresh wood on top of it. The tool well, I'll probably just run a plane over that just to clean it up a little bit. I'm not too fussed about that. As I say, when I do restorations on things, I'm really looking for functional restorations, so bear that in mind. I'm not looking to turn this into like a sort of French polished coffee table. You know, it just needs to look tidy is what I'm aiming for. So, for example, like on the front where we've got this sort of pink paint that's been sprayed on here, I'll probably just run a plane over that. I'm not looking for perfection, but I just don't want it to look like it's been abused. So that's the idea for the top. Let me know in the comments what you would do on the top. I was thinking as well that some of you are quite likely to come up with the option of, well, just burn it. I have thought of that. I thought, well, I could liberate the vices and then just set fire to it. That's saved me some work. So probably have a bit of a prize for that. The first 200 comments that tell me to burn it, we'll get a mention in the next video, maybe. We'll see. But so yeah, burning it is an option, I must admit. The vices, now bear in mind, if I raise the top of this by, say, 1 inch, that's the level of the vice is going to be that much lower. So if I raise this up by 1 inch, then, you know, it could end up this high and the vice will be this low. So I may have to raise the vices up. I'll be making new jaws for them anyway. And giving them a coat of paint. So I'll do that with the vices. So really it's just the top is the first thing I'd like your help with. So the other thing is I want to make this a little bit taller. At the moment it's about 30 inches high, which is about 75 centimeters. And I think I want to take it up to about 38 inches high, which would be about 90 centimeters or 900 millimeters in engineering units. So I want to increase the height by 8 inches. If I do add 1 inch onto the top of the bench, then I need to add 7 inches on. But what I'm thinking is splicing some onto the legs and making some sort of longer legs. Well, leaving the legs as they are. I mean, the wood's pretty solid. But what I'm thinking is actually splicing say a 7-inch stilt onto the bottom of the leg. Whether I can just sort of clean it up and glue a piece of wood on with a butt joint to make the legs longer, probably not. That's probably a bad idea. Maybe I should cut a tenon and mortise and sort of tenon and mortise a piece of wood onto the bottom to raise the legs up. Again, interested to hear what you would do in that scenario. Now, one of the legs, I'll bring you around here. One of the legs is, see that one's got a little bit of rot on it. This one's actually rotted away a fair bit. I think the thing's been left outside. So you can see there, that certainly needs a bit of replacing. So that might be a bit more of an extensive job. I don't really want to replace the uprights entirely. So if I can splice something on there, that would be better. So let me know what you think on that as well. Let me know in the comments what you would do to raise this up. Maybe I'm just missing a really obvious and solid way of doing that. So I'd really appreciate your comments on that one. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What I'd really value is your opinions and ideas and suggestions as to how to tackle the top, how to best sort of make that a nice surface to work on, and how to make it a little bit taller by raising the feet up somehow. So I really look forward to what you've got to tell me on that. And then in the next video, we'll see if we can start to turn this into a nice little workbench.